Welcome everybody to Racing to Real Estate. I'm John Roberts, he's Josh Tucker. We're still in the Duckworths Studio. We're still at Anchor Real Estate, but we thought with this season-ending episode we'd do something a little bit special, Josh, and have a little bit of a fireside chat. We've had a great time doing this show so far this season, hoping for many more, but want to thank once again our sponsors, Duckworth and Anchor.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys for being a part of Season 1. Hopefully we will have a Season 2 announcement here soon for all of you viewers. We do hope to continue the show. Hopefully all of you have enjoyed the show here during Season 1. So John, final episode of Season 1, like we talked about, I hope I don't speak for myself saying this thing's been a blast. I've had a time. We've had some really cool guests.
How can you go wrong? Cool guests talking about racing and real estate. And Josh, looking back, 2018, whenever you start the holidays, you start reflecting back on, the goods and the bads throughout the year. But I got to say, one good thing here at Anchor Real Estate is we've worked with some great clients. We've had some great properties that we have listed and sold. Mm-hmm. We still have some great properties listed, but on the real estate side, it's been very successful. We've had some really big challenges in unique properties that really going into it, some people said, hey, you are not going to sell that, and you're certainly not going to sell it for that price. And if we can for a moment say, we did. So it's been a lot of success this year on the real estate side.
Yeah, there has been. I agree. It's been a great year for Anchor Real Estate, a great year for all of our agents. And we're kind of now into the part of the year where it becomes a little bit about reflection.
Yes. Looking
back at everything that we accomplished in 2018, and also at the same time doing a bunch of business planning for the year ahead, 2019. Mm-hmm. Like you said, we still got some great listings out there that we're looking to hit the first of the year off with very strong once the market kind of rebounds a little bit from the holiday season. So a lot to look forward to in the first quarter of 2019, but it has been a great 2018.
Yeah, and also, though, we're not really slowing down that much, Josh. We had a customer come back to us. We were able to sell his property, and we just bought a new one from him. We closed on that last Wednesday, and you got an offer on a property over the weekend. So we're still going pretty strong here. I know a lot of people put it up in park as soon as Thanksgiving gets here. And then we hear that a lot, but people are still out there and they're still doing business. When people say, you call somebody on a particular deal, they tend to say, well, I'll do it after Christmas. And then you get to Christmas time, they say, well, I'm going to do it after the first of the year. And then they say, well, I'm probably going to wait till springtime, With many things, don't wait. Now's the time, strike when the iron's hot, and we're certainly here to help you. And we enjoy talking to especially our repeat customers, and we've had a lot of that this year.
We have. We've had a lot of great repeat customers, a lot of new first-time customers as well.
New friends along the way.
Yeah, it's all been fun. Like you said, you and Tracy were able to get one closed the day before Thanksgiving, which is really
challenging.
Yeah, we got a buyer representation deal under contract over the weekend, which was cool. And then my personal home. Got an offer on my lake house here on Lake Norman that we came to terms on. So my lake house is under contract, which means that I need to start looking for a place to move.
So we're not stopping.
Yeah,
we're going to keep going.
We are keeping going for sure.
All right, so now let's talk about racing.
Yeah, let's jump right in. Talk a little NASCAR stuff. So a few discussion topics, if you will. The season's all over with, obviously. Mm-hmm. We've crowned our champion and we've gotten through all that part. I mean, when I worked in the sport, John, one of my least favorite times, but one of my favorite times, if you can say that, was the off season.
Sure.
The least favorite part about it is for a road guy, you're so used to a schedule, right? You're used to flying out every Thursday, being at the racetrack every Friday, Saturday, Sunday, being at the shop every Tuesday and Wednesday, or maybe Monday, Tuesday, depending on, the team or what the schedule is like. But you're so used to a schedule, and then the off season hits, and everything kind of blows up. And now you're become a shop guy Monday through Friday. You have weekends off, and you don't know what to do on the weekends because you're never home on the weekend usually. So it becomes a different time. But the off season is kind of fun because you really get to reflect on the season and then look forward to, kind of like we just talked about in real estate, what the next year or season has in store. So a question that I have for you, and a kind of a cool way I thought to kick off the NASCAR conversation would be, of any conversation that we expect to hear, or any ongoing debates that we expect to hear about during the off season, what do you think those debates would be or conversations would be? Is there a couple that kind of hit home to you that you think we'll hear a lot about during the off season?
Well, I know everybody's pretty excited about the new rules and then the new car for 2019. That's promising to be really exciting when it comes down to the racing, which I don't think needs to be too much more exciting. I think it's fine the way it is. I don't think this is the off season where we're going to hear major changes with the schedule next year. I think that the major changes come in 2020, and that's going to be the interesting topic then. But I think one of the more interesting things is are some of the drivers that are still out there kind of floating around. There's still some question marks left. We've learned a lot, but if you look at the start out right away with that number one car, there's big questions there. Jamie McMurray he's been offered the chance to drive the Daytona 500. He's been offered a consulting position apparently at Ganassi Racing, but he hasn't really said what he's going to do.
Yeah. So talking and great spot to start the number one. So let's just take the next 15 or 20 minutes of the show. We have roughly an hour. Most of our shows have been anywhere between 45 and 55 minutes. So let's take the next 15 or 20 minutes, John, and just kind of go through the list. Starting with the number one car. Let's go in alphabetical order so we don't show any favoritism.
I got to do my glasses.
Yeah, put your glasses on, and let's start the number one like you just mentioned. So we know Jamie McMurray announced that he is not going to be in the one car full time. He announced that the week of Homestead. He also announced that he is not avidly looking for a full time ride.
Yeah, because there's not many out there.
There's not.
There's a problem.
Right. So we assume that Matt McCall will still be the crew chief of the number one, but once again, that's an assumption.
Yeah.
Because if you have a guy like Kurt Busch coming in, which is rumored, that could change there as well. But so the one car I kind of view as being up in the air. What we do know for sure is Jamie McMurray will not be in the one car full time. We don't know the driver that will be in it, but my guess is on Kurt Busch.
Yeah, that's the guess and that's the popular rumor, but sometimes rumors get started. Generally where there's smoke, there's fire. People don't just kind of out of the blue start a rumor and have it pick up so much steam, but that's what we've heard is Kurt Busch is going to be driving that car for at least a year, and that's what we expect to have happen, but they haven't announced it yet.
Right.
It's a little strange.
Yeah, and I'm sure that announcement will be coming soon, very soon. The teams need to know moving forward so they can start getting sponsorships nailed down and paint schemes and all that good stuff. Okay, so rolling right along here, the number two, Brad Keselowski, crew chief Paul Wolf, Penske Motorsports. I don't anticipate any changes there.
Yeah, they'll be as competitive as ever.
Yeah, that's a pretty solid deal. Moving on to the number three with Austin Dillon at RCR, crew chief Justin Alexander. I don't anticipate any changes there. Nope. The number four car, obviously Kevin Harvick, past champion, Rodney Childers, championship crew chief. I don't anticipate any changes there. They're not breaking down a couple of them.
Yeah, no changes there, and I love what Kevin Harvick said. He said, and don't worry about Rodney Childers. He said he's going to get suspended again, okay? Because he's there to push the rules. That's what he does. And you push him to the limit until, not that you get caught or anything, but it goes over and they're not worried about it. Yeah, they're not worried about it. It's not cheating, it's enterprise.
That's right. Look at some of the most successful crew chiefs in the sport.
They've always pushed it.
I've always pushed it.
It's part of the game.
And it's part of the deal, yeah. So, definitely, but don't anticipate any changes there.
Yeah, here's a big change.
The sixth car going through big changes. So
Ryan Newman.
Yeah, Ryan Newman's in. We know Trevor Bayne is out. Also, Matt Kenseth shared that seat this year. Matt has said he is not looking for a full-time ride in 2019, but he is very hesitant to use the word retired.
Yeah.
So you never know where Matt Kenseth could pop up throughout the season. A relief driver, somebody gets sick or hurt maybe. But don't look for him in a full-time ride.
And for Ryan Newman, the search for his neck continues. A different ride. Maybe he'll find out.
And interestingly, Ryan Newman on the sixth car too, crew chief Scott Graves coming from Joe Gibbs Racing. Now Scott used to be at Roush for several years. Scott was an engineer at Roush on the truck side. I believe he might have spent a year or two in Xfinity before moving to the Cup Series, and then left there to go to JGR. So not unfamiliar territory. Coming back to Roush for Scott Graves, so I look for them folks to have some quick success.
9-car ain't changing.
9-car with Chase Elliott, no, I don't see Chase or Alan Gustafson going anywhere. That Rick Hendrick team is very, very solid, and I look for good things out of them.
Just too successful.
Yep, absolutely. And the same with the 10.
Eric Almirola.
Eric is very good there in the Ford, and crew chief John Klossmeyer, I think, is, no changes there. Them guys are hitting their stride. They came off super strong at the end of the year, and I look to have that expect that to continue into 19. Moving on, the number 11 car, Denny Hamlin. I don't anticipate, obviously, no changes there, driver-wise, crew chief-wise. So Mike Wheeler, they call him Wheels, was the crew chief on that team in 2018. Hasn't been officially announced yet, but a lot of speculation that Wheels is leaving there and is going to go to the 95 car for Levine Family Racing.
Yeah. First time Denny's been shut out of a season without a win.
True. Good point. Yeah. So they need a little bit of a mix-up there. Obviously, Wheels is a great crew chief. He's been in the sport for a long time. So if what we're hearing is true and Wheels goes over to the 95, the crew chief Matt DiBenedetto, that will still be in the Joe Gibbs Racing family. I think Joe Gibbs wants to keep Wheels, fairly close in-house. Yeah.
Ryan Blaney, we don't expect any changes there.
No.
Too much success.
Jeremy Bolins, Ryan Blaney, they came over to Penske 2018, and they had a great year, and I don't anticipate any changes there in that team for sure. Same with the 13, Ty Dillon, Matt Borland, crew chief. Geico has signed on with that team for a multi-year deal again. Ty Dillon pretty much shut down any rumors in the middle of the season that he would be going to RCR to fill in behind Ryan Newman. So I think that Ty Dillon is set there in the 13 for a couple more years at least. And I don't anticipate any changes in the 14.
Too much success.
Yep, a lot of success. I don't anticipate anything going on there. The 15, I think, is kind of up in the air. Ross Chastain announced that he was coming back to the 15. I think it was right around maybe before Phoenix, but then in Phoenix, they announced Ross Chastain, full-time Xfinity Championship driver in the 42 Chip Ganassi Chevy. So obviously, he can't compete full-time in both.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's going to go on with the 15 car, but I assume that we will hear something out of them pretty soon. And that gets us down to the 17, Ricky Stenhouse, crew chief Brian Patty at Roush Fenway.
Yeah, solid.
I don't anticipate anything big going on there.
And we have actually, this is looking down the road, but as we like to say in the news business, sources close to the investigation tell us that it might be a soon retirement time for Kevin Harvick. Kevin Harvick may want to go out on top.
Yeah.
And if Kevin Harvick goes out when he says he wants, or when we hear he may go out, Ricky Stenhouse could move to Stewart Haas Racing. We have heard rumblings of this.
We have, yeah.
From several different places, actually, and that could happen because, Josh, these guys aren't, Kevin is next to Kenseth. Kevin was the oldest dude out there, and he competed for the championship. And what these guys, I really think a lot of them, especially a competitor like Kevin Harvick, would like to do what Jeff Gordon, Rusty Wallace did, going out at the top of your game when you have so much bright stuff in your future, because Kevin is very closely associated with Fox Sports and very much in the picture of the future to do a lot of TV stuff. So that could happen there.
Yeah.
Again, speculation.
And Ricky, a young driver, and showing tremendous talent.
Tremendous talent and tremendous upside.
Yeah, absolutely. So that could be something to look forward to in the next couple of years.
Yeah, I think the 18's kind of solid.
I think the 18's pretty solid, Don't anticipate any changes there. Kyle Busch, Adam Stevens. Obviously, big changes at the 19.
Yep.
So it was finally announced, I think, between Phoenix and Homestead.
World's worst kept secret.
Yeah. Truex Jr. and Cole Pern. Not a big change for them, obviously.
Not really.
They've been part of the JGR Alliance for a couple of years now, at least at Furniture Row. So I look for them to hit the ground running, come out of the gate super strong.
Too good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Too good. Eric Jones, no changes beginning in 20, and that makes sense.
No, Eric Jones, Chris Gale, obviously leading that team, and they've shown a lot of speed and strength this year, and I look for that to continue for sure. Same with 21, Paul Menard, Greg Irwin-led team. I don't expect any changes there.
Yeah, and just a side note, I always hate when people say, that Paul Menard's in rides because his last name is Menard. Your last name, even if your last name's Dylan, Menard, or Patrick, it doesn't really matter who your parents are or who your sponsor is. You still have to wheel the car. You still have to be among the 40 best drivers in the world to be out there. And something like coin or looks or popularity could get you in a car, but you still have to wheel the thing.
Yeah.
And people just don't realize how good what they call, the back markers in the Cup Series are. These guys are great, and gals are great drivers, and Paul Menard is a very, very underrated driver.
Oh, absolutely, I agree. And look, Paul Menard's father, when I was at Roush Fenway, and we were teamed up with Yates at that time, and Paul Menard was driving in the Yates car, and Paul's dad is one of the best businessmen that I have ever met.
Sure.
So here's what I'll tell you. Paul's dad is not going to just spend that coin to keep his son in a race car.
And neither is Richard Childress.
Right. No, absolutely. so those, Paul is definitely an underrated driver, and I look for big things out of them in that Wood Brothers 21 car with Greg Irwin. John, do you think they'll blow up the 22 team at all?
They better. No success with Joey Logano in the 22.
Yeah.
Well, this is a great analogy I've heard with Joey Logano. You go in that casino, and there's a guy sitting there at the casino putting quarters in the slot and pulling it, putting quarters in the slot, pulling it. Mm-hmm. He gets up and leaves. Somebody sits down, that same puts one quarter in there, pulls it, hits a jackpot.
Yeah.
I think that's Joe Gibbs Racing was at the slot machine with Joey Logano. Pulling the lever, pulling the lever, pulling the lever.
No.
Then he goes to Penske, and here comes the jackpot. It just paid off big time.
Absolutely. And
Good story.
Yeah, Ty Gordon can't, dismiss anything that he's done. Making his way in the garage is being definitely, one of the top crew chiefs out there. So don't anticipate any changes there. The 23, that's an interesting one, I think. Obviously that team went to the bankruptcy with BK. Front Row bought the charter. They continued it as a Toyota for the remainder of 18. I don't know all the details of 2019 with that one, John, but I will tell you a rumor I heard over the holiday weekend. And I don't know how much truth there is to this. If there's any truth to it, I'm sure we'll hear it announced soon. But I have heard that 23 will indeed be a Ford, and it will still be on the Front Row banner. And that a Xfinity driver by the name of Matt Tift, who we had on our show, will leave RCR and go to Front Row to compete full-time for the Rookie of the Year in the Cup Series.
I'd like to see that.
So we will see if there's any truth to that rumor, but that was mentioned in my ear over the weekend by a pretty reliable source, so we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, and it would be good to see also, because that's good for the health of the sport as well, to have a team survive. And also, one of the better young up-and-coming drivers right now is Matt Tift, and I'd like to see him. See him up there. The big beneficiary, I think, of the 24 and 48 swap of crew chiefs has to be looked at as William Byron. He now gets a seven-time crew chief champion. Seven-time champion crew chief, put it that way, in Chad Knaus. What a bonus for Willie B.
Oh, man. I'm looking forward to that combination, too, just to see. I think William has a lot of talent. I think kind of like others that we've talked about, brought up pretty early, pretty quickly. Another interesting thing about William, he hasn't been racing for a lot of years. He didn't start his racing career until he was a teenager, I believe. So hasn't been racing for a long, long time. But man, he's shown some tremendous talent, and teaming him up with somebody like Chad Knaus, could prove extremely beneficial for Hendrick Motorsports.
And real dangerous to the rest of the field.
So that takes us going numerically here. That takes us to the 31 car. Obviously, we know Ryan Newman vacated that car to go to the 6 with Roush Fenway. That moves Daniel Hemrick up from the RCR Xfinity car. And it was announced just this week Luke Lambert will stay on as crew chief of that car to lead that team. Looking forward, I got big things pegged for Daniel Hemrick.
Two guys I just got to say about that. I've had the chance to either do things or work directly with both of these guys, and I got to say, two really, really good guys. Did a couple TV shows with Luke Lambert, and went on a little trip with Daniel Hemrick. These are fun, good guys, and they both know what the heck they're doing. So, and I think there's a good promise in that team. I'd love to see them do well.
And I think they will. Let's get through a couple more here, John. Try to get about halfway, and then we'll take a quick break and hear from one of our sponsors. Looking at the 32 car, obviously Matt DiBenedetto was the full-time driver, Go Fast Motorsports or Go Fast Racing. Crew chief Randy Cox. Have not heard any announcements out of that team as to the future. Obviously Matt DiBenedetto leaving, going to the 95 car full-time. That I know of, the 32 has not announced a driver for 2019, so it'll be interesting to see where they end up. And then quickly, the 34 team with Michael McDowell, Derek Finley, the crew chief on that Ford. team. I don't expect any changes there.
Yeah.
It hasn't been announced officially yet that Michael McDowell is signed for 19, but I know he mentioned a few weeks ago that he expects that deal to get done, and I would anticipate that he will. So before we dive
they're tight with those sponsors as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a good sponsorship relationship.
That gets us 1 through 34. We'll be back here in a few seconds and start with the 37 team. But for now, let's take a few seconds to hear from our sponsor, Duckworths.
Duckworths Grill and Tap House is your neighborhood restaurant. Good food, good friends, a huge selection of craft beers on tap, not to mention the weekly and daily food specials. 5 locations in the Charlotte metro area. Make sure to go down and check out your local Duckworths.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Racing to Real Estate. I'm Josh Tucker, co-host John Roberts. And John, after hearing that short little sponsor read from Duckworths, normally that would get me hungry, but I ate so much food over the holiday weekend that I can't even really think about food right now.
I'm never eating again. I'm never eating again. And they never drink wine again.
But Duckworths, thank you so much for the
until
sponsorship of 2018. We appreciate it. Okay, so jumping right along, we are going.
Where do we leave off? Michael McDowell, 34 now. Chris Buescher, 37.
Yeah, 37. So we're going through every full-time Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series team, and we left off 34, so now we're on 37. Chris Buescher, obviously going to remain the driver of that one. New crew chief and Trent Owens coming on board, and they have switched to Hendrick Motors. I think they ran maybe the last 2 races this year, or one of the 2, maybe Phoenix or Homestead. That 37 did put that Hendrick motor in. I think just to kind of get ahead of the program there. But
Trent Owens is an underrated crew chief. I think he's done some really good things over the years. Been around a long time.
And has some
good guy.
History there, related to the Petty family. And been in that NASCAR garage for a lot of years. So I agree. Definitely an underrated crew chief, and I expect good things out of them next year. 38, David Reagan with crew chief Seth Barber at Front Row Motorsports. I don't anticipate any changes there. It sounds like David's pretty safe in that deal, and I hope so. I like David a lot. I think David is one of the most down-to-earth drivers.
True good guys.
True
good guys.
Okay, so that takes us, John, to the 41.
And the 41 has been rumored to have just about everybody except Josh and producer Paul running the car. I think they rumored just about everybody's going to be in there. There's of course Daniel Suarez is out there. Guy can drive. He's an Xfinity champion. He's been rumored to fill the seat. And it's also, as far-fetched as it may seem, you also hear inklings of Kurt Busch staying put, of going back. He is not put, that door isn't closed.
Right. Yeah. So it will be interesting to see what the 41 team ends up doing, with Jamie McMurray already announcing that he will not be in the one car full time next year.
Great driver.
But what would that mean if Kurt Busch stays put? Then somebody has to go in one. So a lot of cards in the air there. I don't know. My gut tells me Daniel Suarez will be the driver of 41, and he's just trying to work out some final details. But I don't anticipate Billy Scott, the crew chief, on that deal going far. I think he's a great leader of that team, and they've done good things. So.
Kyle Larson, 42, no changes.
No changes. Chad Johnston obviously leads that team. Super strong. I don't anticipate any changes, but I do think they need to get a little better. They had a tough season in 2018. I think Kyle's got a ton of talent. I think Chad is a great leader for that team, but they got a few bugs to work out. But I anticipate good things out of them in 2018.
People do expect more out of that combination.
I think so too. So 43, Bubba, old Darrell Wallace Jr. with crew chief Drew Blickensderfer. Obviously, Darrell, the announcement came midway through the year that they picked his option up, so he is remaining in the 43, and I believe that Drew will continue to lead that team. I think that team will stay put as is. That takes us, John, to the 47. So we got another Rookie of the Year contender in Ryan Preece. So AJ Allmendinger out of the 47 car. That was announced midway through the year. Ryan Preece going into that car. Tristan Smith will be the crew chief. And just like the 37, they are going to the Hendrick Motorsports engine. So I anticipate good things there at JTG Daughtry. I think that 2008 or 19 will be a turning year for them.
Still pretty solid driver in the number 48.
I don't think we got to worry too much about that. That driver's staying put.
Underrated. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was going to say, I seen a tweet from him, I think it was yesterday, that said he is far from done, and far being all caps.
Yeah.
So, I don't think Jimmy, as much as a lot of people speculate either him or Kevin Harvick being the next person to announce a retirement.
Don't count on Jimmy.
Don't count on Jimmy, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think Jimmy could be a few more years yet for sure. And partnering up with a crew chief like Kevin Endering, coming from Elliott Sadler Junior Motorsports. But Kevin no stranger to Hendrick Motorsports. He was an engineer there when I worked for Hendrick Motorsports underneath Steve Letarte. So he's very familiar with Hendrick Motorsports, their systems and processes, and I look for them to hit the ground running and come out really, really strong. Also, new full-time sponsor with Ally Financial. That's cool to see. 48.
That's the thing I was going to mention, that you hear a lot of things. There's one particular Washington Post article I remember reading a couple years ago, 2 years ago. They were talking about a downturn in attendance at NASCAR. That was their main focus. But on the exact same day, FedEx re-upped with Joe Gibbs Racing. Shell Pennzoil re-upped with Penske. And when both are newsworthy items, but one's negative and one's positive. And FedEx and Pennzoil, I don't think are dummies. And Joe Gibbs and Roger Penske, I don't think are dummies. These are very, very successful businesses partnering up. And now we have the partnering of Hendrick Motorsports and Ally Financial. New money coming into the sport is a good thing, and you can't underrate it, I don't think.
No, I'm with you 100%. I loved hearing that announcement when it came out. I think it was in September or October. But yeah,
that's my range.
I hear you. Okay, moving right along to 51. I don't know too much about this Rick Ware Racing team. I know Pat Tryson is the crew chief there. I expect him to continue in that role. They had a mixture of drivers in 2018.
Everybody but you and me drove that.
Yeah, a lot of different drivers, and I haven't heard what their plans are for 2019. So it'll be interesting to see. They are a full-time charter team, so it'll be interesting to see what they come up with for 2019. And the same job with the 72. I know Corey LaJoie filled that with Cole Witt for 2018. Cole Witt surprised everybody, I think, at Homestead, and just came right out and said, "Hey, I'm done. I'm retiring. This is my last race." So I don't know if that's good news for Corey LaJoie. Maybe he gets the full seat for 2019. Wally Rogers leads that team, and it'll be interesting to see what they come up with for 2019. 88, John?
No. That's just they were just solid all around. I mean, I know there's so much pressure on Alex Bowman, and first of all, people were saying, why are you putting Alex Bowman in the seat of Dale Earnhardt Jr.? Why are you having him fill these huge shoes? And the reason why is because guys at Hendrick Motorsports had seen Alex drive around, and I don't want to use the term of cars, but let's call it a sled for a better term than some type of box. But the kid can drive. He's a good guy, and I really hope for a lot of success. And then keeping them together, keeping that whole group together. Jimmy Johnson won 7 championships with keeping the entire group together, basically, the entire time. So they need to, I think that's a good move. Stick together, build some teamwork, and get that 88 back to glory.
Absolutely, and I put a lot of faith into the crew chief there, Greg Ives. I worked with Greg at Hendrick Motorsports. He was Jimmy Johnson's engineer when I was over there, and man, one of the smartest guys I know in the Cup Garage. So I expect that team to continue being strong into the future here. And John, that takes us to the very last full-time Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series team, the 95, Levine Family Racing. We mentioned earlier, obviously Matt DiBenedetto leading the 32. He will be the full-time driver in the 95. That team also switching from Chevrolet to Toyota in an alliance with Joe Gibbs Racing. And it is rumored that Mike Wheeler, will leave the 11 car as the crew chief and come to the 95 as the crew chief for 2019. So I think that'll be an interesting team to watch. I think that Matt Benedetto is a very underrated driver.
And a good guy, too.
Yeah.
Real fun guy.
Has a lot of talent, so I think that he'll continue to do great things.
It's not cheap to be associated with Joe Gibbs Racing. But the thing is, when you're associated with them and you're paying the money, you're getting what you pay for. And let's remember, that this is not a matter of going out and you just spend a bunch of money and you all of a sudden have success. You got to spend money the right way.
Right.
And associating with some of these teams, some of these organizations, sometimes that's the only way you can really get someplace and eventually stand on your own feet. So it's not cheap. So it's a good thing to see the Levine family is stepping up, paying the money, and getting involved with gigs.
No, I agree. I agree.
Success.
And obviously that team, Casey Kane was the full-time driver for that team. He announced midway through the year that he was retiring. They got sidelined due to some health issues. Raymond Smith filled in the remainder of the year. So I think that team altogether has got strong people there. And this alliance with Gibbs is only going to make them stronger. So I expect good things. Now, John, if you add up every team that we just talked about, so we went numerically. Started with the one car. I guess we did leave out one, and that is the double zero.
Double zero.
Yeah, so technically the double zero probably should have been the very first one that we talked about. I don't know too much about the future of that team.
And it's interesting that they're leasing a charter.
They do, I think
they lease a charter from Childress.
The old 27 charter. When Paul Bernard left there, I think they leased that charter. So, I think per the NASCAR rule book, you're only allowed to lease a charter 1 year. So I think that charter goes back to RCR this year, and then they might have to do something different. But I don't know the future of that team. I don't know if Landon Castle is still going to be a part of that team in 2019. It will be interesting to see what they do. But now, including the double zero and every other team that we've talked about, 1 through 95, that got us to 35 full-time Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series teams. Obviously, the sport has 36 charters. The one that we did not talk about is the 78 Furniture Row Racing. They announced, I think it was maybe September, that they were obviously shutting down. Martin Truex Jr. going to the 19 car, we know that. But what do you think happens with the 78 charter? I haven't heard too many rumors of other teams looking to buy it. I don't know any other teams that are looking to expand to another car. So does that leave that charter just kind of sitting out there? If they don't run the charter, it goes away.
So that's one of the rules with the charter. And as a little background, years ago when, just say somebody like Ricky and Linda Rudd, they had a race team, they ran, they employed people, and they won races. And then they folded, they had a garage sale, they sold their equipment for pennies on the dollar, and then went away. So NASCAR said, hey, look, we can't really do that because, say in the NFL, perfect example, Carolina Panthers, right? They have a franchise. The NFL granted them a franchise. Therefore, they have something that is worth something. Jerry Richardson needed to get out of the game. He sold the team for $3 billion with a B. So when you look at that, they had value there. So the idea NASCAR had, and it's a good idea. Okay, we're going to grant teams charters, therefore you have something that's worth something, for lack of a better term. Simply put, you have a value to your race team. So when you look at the concept of Barney Visser and the 78 team having a charter, having it go away, and because if you don't use it, if you don't race full time, you lose your charter. Therefore, it has no value. So this is a serious issue. This is something you really need to look at in the business of NASCAR. If a charter goes away, because therefore one goes away, it devalues some of the other ones. And the whole idea and the point behind it was to have value to a racing franchise with a different name. So, man, that's a tough one. I don't know. I think if we look over the history, I know Furniture Row Racing bought the 77 charter when Eric Jones went there, and I think they paid somewhere $2.5 million, maybe even close to $3 million. We've heard different stuff about
different numbers.
But if you take everything together, right, it's 3 or 4 million.
Yeah, what we do know for sure is that the 23 charter sold, now granted through bankruptcy court. So I don't know that we can call that a fair market value per se, but we know that one sold for about $2 million. But it also included a lot of equipment, which is kind of what you would expect if you buy a charter.
Which you would hope to have some value there too. Now, then again, when you look at the value of, just take for instance an NFL franchise, the Dallas Cowboys, Carolina Panthers are, would be much more valuable than just throwing something out like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. There's different values, different charters. So just Take probably like, for instance, the 48 team charter.
Right.
If somebody just wanted to come out of the blue and buy that sucker,
Yeah. It's
okay, it's going to cost you.
That's some serious money. But it'll be interesting to see over the off season kind of how that goes with the 78 charter. What happens with it? Is there a buyer that picks it up? Is another team interested in it for expansion? Man, I just haven't heard any rumblings, so it'll be interesting to
hear something there.
Yeah, hear how that breaks down. John, we got a few more minutes left on the show. I think, Producer Paul, we got a little bit of time left here. I think we got 10 minutes or so. So quickly, before we go clear to close, I seen on NASCAR.com, I think it was yesterday, they released their off-season power rankings. Just wanted to quickly go through those and get your opinion on them, see if you think if there's any names in there that are missed, or any major moves that you would anticipate. So NASCAR.com power rankings, I think they got 1 through 25 on there actually, if anybody wants to visit their website. They've got all the way back to 25. We just kind of looked through the top 10.
Yeah, we tend to deal in top 10s.
Yeah, top 10s here. So let's read through them real quickly. They got number 10, Kyle Larson. Man, that was kind of a bold one for me. I think Kyle Larson
I wouldn't have
is expected to be a lot better than 10.
Yeah.
Would be my opinion. I would probably put him up somewhere closer to the top 5.
Yeah, top 5.
But, I mean, based off of their performances in 2018, maybe they're on to something. I don't know. He was knocked out of the playoffs pretty early, and he went winless in 2018. So, I don't know. Number 9, Brad Keselowski. Man, that's another tough one. I mean,
he will prove himself this year better than a number 9 power ranking.
They said on the website, I think I read a quick sentence or two about Brad Keselowski, and it said that over the last 2 seasons, his numbers have continued to drop.
Yeah.
So they have him ranked 9th. Man, I don't think Brad Keselowski's forgotten anything about driving a race car. And his crew chief, Paul Wolf, is pretty darn talented. So,
and that team is okay too.
Yeah, I look for good things.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with either of those.
Yeah. So they got number 8, Ryan Blaney.
I think he's about in the right. He's about in the right spot.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Number 7, Clint Boyer.
About in the right spot.
Okay. Yeah, I think that. Man, I would have to put Clint Boyer a little lower down the list. I don't think that. I don't see, for whatever reason, I don't know why. I think it's just from the performance that they had in 2018. I think Clint Boyer probably deserves to be in the top 10, but I don't know if 7th is quite right. Maybe 8th, 9th, 10th, somewhere in that range.
Yeah, and same with Eric Almirola at 6. Deserves to be in the top 10, but not 6.
Yeah, maybe not 6. Yeah, I think that Kyle Larson, Brad Keselowski could probably swap with Clint Boyer, Eric Almirola, and that would be a little closer for my guesstimation. So, all right, getting down to the top 5, NASCAR.com power rankings. Chase Elliott, number 5.
I think you can take your 1 through 5, Josh, starting with Chase Elliott, and I think you can mix them up and have
throw them in
the bag and pick out, and you could either have 1 through 5. They really got this right. I think those are your top 5 drivers.
Yeah.
Heading into next year.
I have to say so.
Start with Chase.
Yeah, those drivers are obviously Chase Elliott, number 5. 4th on the list, Martin Truex Jr. 3rd, Joey Logano. 2nd, Kevin Harvick. And number 1, power rankings driver through the offseason, Kyle Busch. I'm kind of with you. I think those probably are the top 5.
Mix them up a little bit.
I think mix them up a little bit. I think they're probably about on for number 4 being Mark change there. But I heard Cole Pern on Sirius say that he's used to working for a company that has 50 employees, and now he's going to a company with 600.
Yeah.
So, there will be a bit of an adjustment period there. And how much will that affect, that team? And another thing that we haven't talked a lot about, but, it would be interesting to see of these top 10, which teams can quickly adopt to the new rules package.
Yeah.
I think that will make a big difference. Early season momentum is big for the playoffs. I think that's when a lot of these teams accumulate stage points and playoff points and start, setting their footing for later into the year. So I think the teams that figure out that that figure out the new rule package early will be, in a plus. Now, I don't know about Joey Logano, Kevin Harvick, Kyle Busch. I do agree those 3 will probably be the big 3 for 2019. I don't know if I agree in that exact order. I think that Joey Logano's got a ton of momentum coming off that championship.
It's so hard to repeat, though.
It is. I
So
agree.
many repeats.
But Jimmy Johnson did it 5 times in a row.
Well, he did, yeah.
Anything is possible.
Yeah, but I just think you're right to put Kyle Busch at the top. I do agree with this, with NASCAR Power Rankings and this. I do agree with Kyle Busch being number 1, because I had him as my champion this year, and he didn't do it. But
no, I agree. I don't think that there's much that you can disagree with that. I mean, I think the guys,
and that's what rankings are. They're fun.
They're fun, yeah.
They're fun to throw out.
To talk about, and they change every week. So we'll see. John, any big names on that list that you don't see? Obviously, Kurt Busch was one that jumped out to me, assuming he goes in the number 1 car.
Assuming he goes in the 1 car.
Do you see him in the top 10 in the number 1 car? Here's my thought on Kurt Busch quickly before we clear close. I think that Stewart-Haas Racing has phenomenal equipment. They've got great people. It's a 4-car team. They got a lot of Ford support. And I don't know that Chip Ganassi Racing is on equal playing field.
I would have to agree.
As Stewart-Haas.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. Tony and Gene Haas have done a fantastic job of putting together humans from top to bottom. Now, not that Chip hasn't, but it's just not the same caliber.
Right. So I
definitely
don't know that I expect, if what we are hearing is true, Kurt Busch goes to the number 1 car, I don't know that I would expect that team to immediately compete for a championship.
Probably not. Whereas if he were to stay with the 41,
big things could happen.
Big things could.
He was in the round of 8.
This
year, nearly made it to the round of 4. At some points during the final race at Phoenix, he was in the round.
He was in the round of 4.
So,
and that would have made me look really smart because I had the 2 Busch brothers in the final 4.
Yeah. So I don't know if that's an
Championship 4, if you will.
An equal move for Kurt, or a little bit of a downhill move for Kurt. Time will tell. But he would be one name on this list that, I think could potentially make it to the top 10. If we're putting Kyle Larson in the top 10, and Kurt Busch would be his teammate in the number 1 car, I think Kurt could be a name that you could see.
That's hard, but there's not much room at the end up there.
Yeah.
It's the top sides.
All right, well, folks, we hope that you enjoyed our breakdown of all the teams competing full-time and our power rankings. Let's take just a quick 15-second break here from our sponsor, Anchor Real Estate, and we will be back with a clear to close very soon. Anchor Real Estate is your boutique real estate firm located in Mooresville, North Carolina. We specialize in the Lake Norman area. Whether you are buying or selling, our innovation through communication will get you results. That's Anchor Real Estate in Mooresville, North Carolina. Make sure you follow us on social media.
It's time now for our 3 favorite words in real estate, clear to close. We've heard that a lot recently, and we're also very thankful for that, but also we're thankful for the viewers we had on our webcast, podcast, videocast, whatever you want to call it. We call it Racing Real Estate. And so let us know what you think, ladies and gentlemen. Send us emails and send us messages. We're really easy to find, R2RE on all the social media platforms. Just find us and let you know what you think. Let us know what you think. And just remember, guys, be thankful every day for what you have. And as old Jim Valvano said, live, love, laugh, and cry every day. And that's a pretty full day. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, we do want to thank all the viewers. I had a great time on this first season of Racing Real Estate. We hope for some announcements in the near future regarding the season 2. Maybe an expanded season 2, we will see. But definitely want to once again thank our sponsors for the season 1, Duckworths and Anchor Real Estate. We appreciate both of you. We appreciate all the fans that tuned in to watch each and every episode. Like John said, engage with us, leave us messages. We're on all the social media platforms. We're Racing to Real Estate, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can email us at racing2realestate@gmail.com. And once again, folks, we thank you, and stay tuned for season 2. All right,
That's a wrap.
great off season, everybody.